I'm still in the camp that Bitcoin's got more downside. Again, whether it's 12, 13, whether it's 10, whether it's 15, we'll see. I'd be hard pressed considering the situation with the Fed, with the inflation. This is that first cycle, the first bear market cycle for Bitcoin where the Fed has not been printing money. And I think you have to take that into account and say, well, why would this cycle be less downside than past cycles, which are been 80 to 85%? So to me, it makes me even a little nervous, like it could go lower than 12, 13, which would be 80 to 85%. So hopefully that doesn't come to fruition. I'm going to start accumulating, continue accumulating in the teens and the low teens, even down below. But I would love to see a bottom sooner than later. But I got to just say to myself, what are the charts saying? The charts are still saying downside. Think that by the end of this year, you're going to start to see the dollar fall. People are going to start to realize, investors are going to realize that the Fed is out of bullets, right? So yeah, we're going to get into a recession. And how is the Fed getting us out? Because every recession for the past, let's say 20 years, the Fed has just said, oh, well, let's just print money because inflation is under 2%. Print it, print it, print it. That gets us out. Well, guess what? Inflation's not going to be under 2% by the time the next recession hits, whether it's this year, next year, or the next year after that. So the question is, when we get into a recession, how do we get out? My fear is that we're going to be in this long, drawn-out recession, and eventually it's going to get so bad the Fed will start to print. And that's where the dollar falls. That's where gold and silver and metal start to really rip. And in all fairness, I think that's where Bitcoin starts to rip as well, where people finally realize the Fed has lost control. They've lost all credibility. And then you see these assets start to take off as safety measures. So I do think Bitcoin will decouple and it'll become more like the digital gold. So this is the gold chart we see before us. But I do think that at some point you do see this change where Bitcoin has been historically that, risk asset. It goes down when markets go down. I eventually think it's going to switch into more of a gold where it goes up when things are scary. Yeah. Now, this is the gold chart. And what's amazing about the gold chart is, number one, it's still the best performing asset between Bitcoin and the stock market for the year. I think it's down about 4% or 5% on the year. But basically, look at this trend line. Pivot high, pivot high, pivot high. We broke out. We tested this line again. Now we're testing it again. I think gold's a buy here. I think you're above this line. I think you're going to start to head up. You could even be forming maybe an inverse head and shoulders here if we start to trade up. And again, I like gold here. I think it's a good play. It tells me that the dollar may be topping out. And by the way, that's another important point to make here. So think about this for everyone watching. Last Friday, Jerome Powell, probably the most hawkish he's been ever, right? I mean, it just crushed the market. NASDAQ was down 4% in a day. That's a huge move. And everyone's like, oh, he's so hawkish. They're going to raise by 100 basis points. They're going to continue to raise. Well, go ask the bond market if that's true, because the bond market is the biggest, smartest investing market out there. And you know what yields did on Friday? Nothing. And what that tells me is the bond market is calling Jerome Powell's bluff and saying, no, we don't believe that they're going to be able to raise that much more. And if we go to the 10-year yield, here we go. This is the daily chart. We're not even back to the highs from June on the 10-year yield. That's calling Jerome Powell's bluff and saying, we don't think interest rates are going to go much higher from here. Again, I still think 50 basis points in September, maybe another 25 later in the year. I think that's it. And I think the bond market's confirming that. Yeah, so we could do Ethereum to Bitcoin. Sure, absolutely. Let's see what we got here. So, and again, I don't usually look at this chart, so this is going to be the first time I'm looking at this chart. I usually look at it in terms of dollars. But basically what you can see is you basically got this almost pseudo triple top up here. And now what's intriguing about that is that triple tops, the more you hit a level like this when it's a triple top, the more likely you get a breakout. So what this could tell us is that you might see Ethereum versus Bitcoin actually make a big move here. Maybe that coincides with the merge. We'll have to see. But it certainly is an interesting chart here. And you could even argue that you have this lower channel as well, right from here. So you have a kind of a pivot low here, here, and then over here you kind of pierced it before this recent move. but this looks like a bullish pattern to me. So it wouldn't shock me to see Ethereum start to make a move to the upside. Again, we always as traders, we don't want to jump the gun because sometimes we can get caught with our pants down in that scenario. So we want to see if it breaks out, then yes, I think that's the play where you're going to get Ethereum to start making more market cap or advancing its market cap versus Bitcoin's market cap. Oh, XRP. So basically XRP, we're still waiting on this elusive judge ruling, which, by the way, I mean, how long is this going on? I mean, it's been like almost a year, I feel like it at this point. But basically what you have is you have the chart telling you that something is going to come out probably in the next month or so. The reason why I say that is you have this massive wedge pattern, and a wedge comes to a point, and when it comes to a point, price either has to break out or it has to break down, one or the other. And right now you're just hugging the lower end here on that chart. So you want to see Ethereum, you want to see Ripple hold the 32-cent, well, 31-cent level here. If it breaks down, that would be a negative. That could imply a negative judge ruling. If it's able to rally up and take out, then you got the positive side. So basically, a wedge pattern is telling you price has been consolidating. We know that from the chart here, and it tells you that at some point here, when the two lines merge together into a triangular point, you're going to get a big break one way or the other. All right, let's take a look at Matic here. Share my screen. So Matic actually percentage-wise, and this is one of the things that I've liked about Matic, is that it has held up better, right? So we see Bitcoin testing the 19.5-ish area, only a 2,000 off of the 17.5 recent low. And I know I have a lot of charts, lines on here, but what I like is that you're way off the lows on Matic, on Polygon. And that's actually a short-term positive. It doesn't mean you won't fall, but what I would do is I would look to buy, and I'm going to erase some of these lines so we can, and this is a level I will actually look to purchase Polygon at, this line right here. And again, I'm going to get rid of some of these other ones so people don't get confused. But basically, you get back a retrace here. I think it's a very attractive trend line. And again, for me, this is right around the 63-cent marker. So if you can get a fall into that, I'd be a buyer at 63 cents. I would keep an eye on, like, I mean, Cardano. Let's take a look at Cardano here. Cardano had this little bit of an uptrend. It failed, but it's still holding here. It's starting to inch up. Not an amazing chart by any stretch, but you do have a level to trade against, which is pretty close, right around the 40-cent level. That would be a level that you want to see it hold. It's at 45 cents right now. And then let's look at Polkadot here and see what we got on Polkadot. And then, by the way, these aren't necessarily my favorites, but these are some of the bigger ones to look at. And the chart is much the same here. You know, you had this beautiful pop. It's come back in. Now you need to see these levels hold. You know, to me, you're going to have a lot of resistance around 780. If it gets through 780, it might run to 950 on the Polkadot chart. But again, definitely not an amazing chart here either. I'm trying to think of what other ones could be useful to look at. Let's take a look at BNB, Binance. Yeah, Binance is not a horrendous chart. You know, you have broken below this kind of upsloping channel, but if you look at how far off the lows it is, that's a really nice move off the lows. Now, again, I still wouldn't be a buyer until it probably gets down to like 245 or so down here. But again, I like charts that as we're seeing Bitcoin come down, getting close to its recent June lows, they're holding well above. It shows that relative strength. And if you get a bounce, those should be the ones that perform the best.
That's it for today, guys. If you found this video useful, then don't forget to like the video and share this knowledge with your friends and family. And don't forget to check out the full video, link is in the description. Thank you.